Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Football Diary podcast. It's just me and Dave today, but we wanted to record to talk about this week's Champions League action. Obviously, the most elite competition in club football is back, and some pretty impressive games, to be fair, so far, Dave, right? And some big scorelines too, particularly with some of the English teams. We're obviously going to focus on Manchester first. So let's start with Man City and their 6-3 win over RB Leipzig. Dave, what did you think of the game, and what sort of intent did that show from City as they look to finally lift the trophy?
Yeah, it was a funny game. For the neutral, it was a brilliant game to watch.
Yeah.
It was a resounding victory in the end for City, obviously. From their perspective, they created 7 chances throughout the game, but 6 as they scored. Obviously, with a bittersweet hat trick for Nkunku, I thought looked really good, and he's a promising player as well. But City looked, threatening all throughout the game. I think you've got to give them a lot of credit. I think obviously you hear a lot of people saying about Leipzig and how they've conceded so many goals over the last couple of years. You look at obviously the Liverpool game and then the United game where they lost obviously 5-0 or whatever. So I mean, they're clearly a team that ship goals, but they're a good team nonetheless. And City put in an impressive display.
I think the thing with Leipzig is as well, you have to remember that not only did they lose Nagelsmann, but they lost Upamecano and Kanate. They also lost Sabitzer as well. So it's a new Leipzig team. I feel like this game just showed us what happens when both teams tell their fullbacks that they don't have to defend, or you have two teams with fullbacks who can't defend in some cases. Angelino and Mukiele was just completely lost in this game, weren't they? Man City's wingers just tore them apart. And Cancelo getting his goal, and the fact that Leipzig were able to get their 3 goals as well, I think just demonstrated that neither team were really interested in defending for a while. I mean, I have to give a mention to my mate, man of the match display on his Champions League debut for Jack Grealish with a wonderful goal and an assist as well. Fantastic performance from him. What did you make of his performance in particular in this game?
Yeah, I think he operates in them sort of spaces where he's kind of renowned for getting into those patterns of play off the left. And in pockets, he was looking to pick up the ball and make things happen, and he was really effective in terms of getting into those spaces, and obviously bagged himself a goal, which I'm sure he'll be happy with. Obviously, the one he scored the other week wasn't particularly pretty, so I'm sure he'll be happy to get a goal that looks a bit more easy on the eye. But I mean, we know they've got the amount of depth they've got in the squad is ridiculous, really. Whoever whoever they're going to put on the pitch is pretty much going to perform majority of the time. But it was good to see him on the pitch, in a Champions League match. Obviously, he didn't get the chance to perform in Europe for Villa, so it'll be interesting to see how he does as the competition progresses.
Yeah, do you know what? Even as a Villa fan, I wonder how many Villa fans would agree with me. Just seeing him score that goal made me feel quite proud, to be honest. But I think his performance kind of dictated that of Mukiele as well, who actually is a really good player and has made his debut for France recently. But his own goal was calamitous. He just got completely lost. He had no idea what he was doing with the ball, whether he was trying to give it back to Galassi or put it behind or what. It seemed that he was just aware that Grealish was on his shoulder again. And I think he kind of ran him ragged most of the evening. But then going forward, he was actually really good. He put in a lovely ball for Nkunku at one point. And then Angelino obviously coming back and getting a red card. It just felt like City's pace and creativity out wide just completely threw Leipzig, didn't it? And the fact that you have as many goal scorers as you do. Jesus got one at the far post as well, where the fullback didn't put him up. Cancelo got forward and scored as well. There was the penalty, obviously, where Klosterman jumps in a very odd position, doesn't he, with his arm out. But fair play to Man City for the way that they started in a season where that's got to be primary goal to win the competition, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think they'll, if they're looking at it, they'll want the Champions League more than the Premier League this year. And if anything, you might say that the Premier League might actually be a bit more difficult to win than the Champions League, Champions League. You know, as we've seen, not even the strongest team can come through competition. You come out victors at the end of it. So Chelsea, nobody probably would have earmarked them to win. So, I think there's a long way to go. It's you pull the name out of the hat. Really, they're definitely one of the favourites to win it. So why not? But you've got to say there's a lot of teams in there now that could easily. You've obviously got PSG, the likes of Bayern. Could come back strong again after last year's probably early exit for them. As we all expected them to sort of probably make the final. They did. So, of course. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they do because Pep's only made one Champions League final in the last 10 years. So, it's a long time. When you think about it, it's ridiculous. You feel old in a way because it feels not even long ago since he was getting into those finals with Barcelona against Man United. 2 years running.
Well, the thing that this game sort of said to me was, as good as they are going forward, if they were playing a better side than Leipzig, and Leipzig aren't a bad side, don't get me wrong, but if they came up against a Bayern or, to be honest, I'm kind of running out of names there. I feel like this competition is quite open at the moment. You can't defend the way that City did. The fact that they conceded those 3 goals, if you're against a better side, you're going to get punished like that. And if you can't get 6 yourself, then that's a problem. It just seemed like every time City started to run away with the game, they let Leipzig back into it, didn't they? But I think they'll be encouraged by the attacking display, particularly the way that De Bruyne, Mahrez and Grealish linked up. I think that's a great sign for them. So a good start for one side of Manchester. Sorry, mate. Not such a good start for the other, though, right? Man United losing 2-1 to Young Boys after Ronaldo did get a goal again. His 3rd goal in 2 games for Man United. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka's red card in the 35th minute really changed the pace of the game. And, of course, Jesse Lingard with a bit of a nightmare right at the end of the match to kind of give the win away. So this one's on you, mate. What did you make of Man United's performance this week?
Up to the red card, we looked more than comfortable. Obviously, we managed 2 shots on goal, I think it was, in the whole game. And the second one was in the 30th minute. I think Solskjaer's getting a lot of flack for this result in particular. And I think a lot of people can say, it's an unlucky red card. It's a red card. It is a red card.
It is.
It's not intentional, but you can see why he's given it. It wasn't Solskjaer's fault there was a red card. It wasn't Solskjaer's fault that Lingard passed back into a ridiculous area with 30 seconds left on the clock. But it's Solskjaer's fault in how it unfolded after the red card and how we changed shape. The changes he made, which were just a bit bizarre. And it's nothing new. Like it's how he deals with games. His in-game management is just like it's just baffling to me. How he kind of opted to go for a back 5 at the start of the second half. I mean, he's not really a manager that makes changes half time anyway, so that was quite surprising in itself. He obviously brought Varane on and took Van der Beek off. He was probably our best. I thought he was probably our best midfielder on the night. And that instantly puts the pressure onto your team. If you're showing you've got to go into the back 5, then that kind of says, we're setting up for looking to try and, either steal 3 points or, come away with a point. So that instantly put pressure onto us. And then the other 2 subs at the 70th minute, Fernandes off and Ronaldo. And then you bring in on a player in Lingard who we were trying to sell in the summer. And it wasn't apparent,
I didn't get that either. You're at 1-1 at that point. Now, I understand you're down to 10 men, but you've still got enough in you to beat Young Boys with 10 men, really, let's be honest. So bringing on Matic and Lingard for Fernandes and Ronaldo, I don't understand what Solskjaer's intent was there. Why would you just settle for a point? I know it's better that to get that than lose on the opening game. But taking Sancho off, who, by the way, must be baffled by what's going on right now. He's come to Man United as the marquee man, not had even a week as the marquee man, and looks like he's not quite as settled as the rest of the signings are. And then he has to make way on the 37th minute for Dalot. I wonder whether Solskjaer could have been braver once they'd gone to 10 men.
I think he needed to stick with 4 at the back. And I think he needed that extra man in midfield because we just got completely overrun after that. It was our midfield as it is, obviously we've spoken about. It's an area of concern. So you kind of weaken it even more by going 5 at the back and then 3. I don't even know what it was, to be honest. It was so disappointing.
It didn't make sense.
Lingard come on, and obviously Matic is not the most mobile of players. Now you've obviously got Pogba, who's very suspect defensively now. And then we've not even got a striker on the pitch now.
Yeah, he doesn't bring Martial on until the 89th minute.
When he brings Martial on, and I don't know what is that substitution, because you then bringing him on, whose work rate isn't particularly great. He's not very strong defensively. He's all okay at holding the ball up, not great again at that.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a substitution for the sake of a substitution, and yet you're talking about a manager that didn't make one substitution in the Europa League final last year, when a lot of these players were on the bench and were deemed not good enough then. So why is he all of a sudden pressing the panic button and looking to kind of throw something at the wall and see what sticks? Because that's what it's called, like, really. Just like none of it added up, really.
Is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be a problem this season where really you've brought in 3 world-class players this summer and pretty much now you've got a world-class team? There are many areas in the pitch where you would say United are missing a world-class player. I know there's shortcomings in the midfield, but this is still a midfield that contains Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, and Donny van der Beek can't even get in the team. Fred costs 50 million. There is potential in those players. Is the problem going to be you can't really just rely on those names when the manager isn't world-class himself? Do you think Solskjaer might be the last piece of the jigsaw that's not quite fitting?
Again, though, this is another thing. It's not just the manager. It's our coaching setup. We've got Michael Carrick and McKenna, who apparently run these training sessions. Yet McKenna comes out straight out of the academy, being an academy coach for Man United. Never had any previous first team experience before Man United. And you've got Michael, who's only ever been at Man United, and both lacking experience, in first class world class football. Yeah. And then you've got Solskjaer, who, kind of makes the decisions in terms of who's going to make the team and how they're going to play, or, it's almost like rely on the world class players in that team creatively, to create something, win his games. But then again, there doesn't seem to be much of a plan a lot of the time. It's just, and you look at these first 4 games that we have played, and I don't actually think we've played particularly well.
There's been moments, hasn't there? I think in the Newcastle game in particular, obviously we didn't get to talk about that on here. In the Newcastle game in particular, there were a few moments where the football looked brilliant. But again, I wonder how much of that is down to just the natural ability and the class of some of those players. I think sometimes it feels like Solskjaer is playing a game of Football Manager and just he gets the names in, but really short of that, he doesn't really have to do too much. It's all kind of automated for him at that point. The fact that he's so slow with his substitutions typically, or when he does make them, he makes the wrong ones. The fact that there isn't any real recognised tactical play on the ball, that we only kind of know that United are just going to press really hard when they're off the ball and look for a counter-attack. I'm worried that maybe you're right. Maybe it says an entire coaching setup. That's where United are going to be let down a little bit this season, because on paper, are there many stronger 11s in this Champions League? We just watched the first round of games, and Barcelona looked like they'd be mid-table Premier League at the moment. Real Madrid scraped a win against Inter Milan somehow. PSG drew. Bayern looked fantastic. Man City did well, but conceded a lot of goals. Liverpool let someone back in. So there isn't a front runner all of a sudden. You'd say it's PSG, but United, really, this is their chance. They've got a brilliant 11, and they've got Ronaldo, the Champions League is his competition. Is Solskjaer going to be the thing that lets them down, though?
Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying. I feel as though, we've got so many players in there now, and obviously we've brought two absolute world-class, integral members of the first 11 in Ronaldo and Varane. It's almost like there's no excuses now. Okay, we might be lacking a midfielder and potentially a right back who's a little bit better going forward. But there's no excuses, and we need to win. We need to win something, and I agree with that. He's had 3 years. He's not, it's not like he's only just come into the club and this is what he's got. This is his team. He's built this, so it's whether he has it in him to produce the results to win a trophy of some sort, whether it's an FA or I just feel as though it's in those vital moments that he can't seem to direct that team towards victory.
Yeah. Do you wonder if maybe he's hoping that that's what Ronaldo will do? Because the amount of times he's got United to semi-finals or finals and then bottled it. When you've got someone like Ronaldo leading on the pitch, I wonder whether that's half of the joy of having him there, that he's kind of there to pull the team together a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of see what he's obviously a trump card. He's a match winner at the end of the day. Let's be honest, even in these couple of games that he's played, he's not really had many chances, and he's been clinical really against Newcastle. In that game, I know he obviously was 1-on-1 with the keeper and went down, and obviously it was a dubious decision whether that should have been found or not. But is he going to keep scoring at this clinical rate? Because he's not had many chances, but he's doing his scores. But again, it's not about having the right players. Where it's about when we're up against it in these moments, and that it requires a bit of nous from the manager to make the right decision. And make the right changes, and we get to see consistently with Solskjaer.
Well, Solskjaer's understanding of the game afterwards was really interesting. So you mentioned it there. He thought the penalty was a stonewall, didn't he? Ronaldo was through, and there was an arm on his back. Was it enough to bring him down? I'll ask you in a second. And also, he kind of said he understands why Wan-Bissaka's been sent off, but he wouldn't have given a red card himself, which I think is hilarious. What did you make of the two major decisions in the game?
I think if it goes against you, I think you'll be saying it's soft, so I'm not.
Penalty, you mean?
I'm not surprised that penalty didn't get. So I'm not kind of particularly.
No, it would have been soft. You're right. There's contact. Ronaldo's looking for it though, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, as are a lot of players these days.
Yeah.
Any sort of contact, and they're down. But yeah, he's looking for it, and if it gets given, I think we'd be a bit lucky, to be honest. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, I mean, kind of how the rest of the game panned out, we didn't deserve it. It was just embarrassing. Really.
Yeah. But for you, definite red card, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a red card. It was.
You can tell. Wan-Bissaka didn't even protest it, did he?
I think you can say. I think Wan-Bissaka's getting a lot of stick in that. Okay, he's not brilliant on the ball, and I don't think you can really say that. This incident happened because he's bad and not great on the ball in particular. It obviously playing on an AstroTurf pitch, which probably didn't go in his favour. You saw a lot of players slipping all over the place, really. But, okay, he's not particularly great on the ball. He can definitely work on that, but I think it was a bit unfortunate. Obviously, we saw one with Pogba. We saw one with Pogba against Wolves, didn't we? Where probably could have said he might have gone off for that.
Yeah.
And I think he had one against Arsenal not long back where he sort of kind of took an extra touch and he got sent off for it. So, it happens to a lot of players.
Yeah, it was completely an accidental challenge. It wasn't malicious. He just completely mistimed it and he slipped over it, didn't he? You could tell because he didn't even argue. But as soon as the refs showed him the card, the first thing he did was make sure the player was okay. It was unfortunate. The other player that's unfortunate, of course, is Lingard. He'll be remembered in this game, I guess, for that pass. I'm not really sure what he was trying to do. It seemed like he was caught between playing it back to the centre-back and the goalkeeper at the same time. Silly, wasn't it, really, Dave? That sort of decision. Is that the sort of thing that's going to stop him from having a regular run in the team, those sort of decisions, or what do you think?
He's not going to get a regular team, let's be honest. It's going to be cup games. Might be the odd game here and there, where potentially, well, I would say like the dead rubbers of the group stage, but are we even going to be at that now? We've lost our first game against probably the worst team in the group.
Yeah.
And so, he's not going to get games. Let's be honest. He's going to get a sort of substitution appearance here and there. And then, Ollie comes out in his press conference today and says that United are eager for him to sign a new contract. I'll be shocked if they are kind of head over heels trying to get him to sign a new contract, because why do we keep doing this, giving contracts to players like Phil Jones? Why did we give him a new contract? He's not playing. Save the wages, just let them go.
I think the difference with Lingard, though, is he probably would command a transfer fee if you wanted to let him go at the end of the season. If you can get him to commit another 2 years, let's say, on slightly lower wages or even the same, you get a fee then for him, at least, if he does move on. It would be a shame to see him go on a free United point of view, but maybe he's earned that right to a free move as well, where someone could pay him the wages that he was getting now because they forego the transfer fee. I want to see Jesse Lingard playing regular football, definitely. I think he's a very, very good dynamic player. He's not going to necessarily get that at United, and maybe it's not quite the level he's at right now. Maybe we saw that this week too. But if he could go to a mid-table Premier League team or even a team competing for Europa League, I think he'd be great. So I do wonder what goes for him next.
Yeah, it's been mentioned a lot over, especially this past transfer window. Some, pundits and ex-pros can't understand why he's not left. And
what about him?
Well, the thing is, he's apparently rejected a contract offer that been offered by Man United already.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what is it going to be, dropping wages, because he's only earning 100 grand a week apparently. I'd say only, like it's a lot.
Yeah.
But, in terms of today's,
I know.
I think Solskjaer comes out and says he's United through and through. But what would you be if you're United through and through? You wouldn't be rejecting any contract unless it's absolutely insulting, disrespectful offer. You're not turning down a contract offer from your boy.
Yeah, true. Unless there's no guarantees of him actually getting any football. I think at some point he does have to go, I want to get some game time, no matter who he supports.
Then he's got his eyes on an exit this summer, and he wants to go player, and fair play if he wants to do that. But I don't agree with a club persistently trying to get someone signed to we're not giving them football anyway. It just doesn't make any sort of sense, on the business side of things or football.
Well, Dave, fair play to you for coming on this week, because we started by talking about Man City winning and can they win the Champions League. Then we talked about Man United losing. Now let's move on to Liverpool getting a win. So Liverpool won 3-2 over AC Milan. Captain Jordan Henderson scoring the winner from just outside the box. Safe to say that Liverpool dominated this game, but just failed to take chances in the first half. And somehow AC Milan found themselves up at half time. But Liverpool eventually managed to seal the win. What did you make of the game, Dave? And do we think that Liverpool are on for a strong season in the Champions League once again?
Yeah, it was a fully deserved victory. They had something like 12 shots within the first 15 minutes.
Oh, they started the game. The way they started the game was ridiculous. They killed AC Milan for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, they kind of penned them in, and they just didn't let them have a sniff of the ball. It was, they were just kind of all over them, and they didn't really have an answer for it. They kind of just hung on in there, really, AC Milan, and they got it obviously towards the end of the first half and kind of gave them a couple of sucker punches, and you sort of wondered, oh, here we go. And but I mean, you got to give credit to Liverpool. It didn't kind of deter them or upset them in any way or disturb their rhythm. They came out in the second half and they kind of responded fairly quickly. So, and Salah's looking, really strong. He started strongly.
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
He often does.
In Premier League, didn't you? So he could be looking to a strong season. I know a lot of people are saying he deserves a contract extension at Liverpool, and obviously he's 29, turning 30 in June, I think.
Yeah.
So whether that next contract will it will probably be his last big contract. I know that sounds ridiculous, but
no, you're right. For the kind of player he is as well, it's not like a Lewandowski where you can see him becoming more of a penalty box player and scoring a lot of goals later into his career. Like, he relies a lot on being able to take a man on, beating that last defender. So you are right, he's probably entering that sort of stage. I thought his performance was really interesting because obviously he had the penalty saved. Now, we've seen Mo Salah take that penalty 1,000 times. He just runs up and leathers it as hard as he can. And Mike Maignan, the replacement for Donnarumma, had a really interesting game. I thought he was absolutely fantastic for all of the game except for Salah's goal, which was a real shame for him. He seems to have slotted in really well at AC Milan, and I think he kept them in the game in the first half, definitely. But that second Salah goal, I mean, Salah first intimated that he thought he was offside. He didn't even celebrate, did he? I wonder why the keeper doesn't come out and challenge for it. It seemed a bit, not cowardly, but I do wonder whether the atmosphere of Anfield got to him a little bit, because he starts to come and then he backs off. And really, Salah he couldn't have missed. He had all that space. It wasn't necessarily a tidy connection either. He just managed to poke it home because no one was challenging him. Do you think maybe the keeper should do better with that?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think it's, it seemed like it froze a little bit. I think Magnan's really talented keeper. He's got a really good board on penalties. So it doesn't surprise me that he's made a save there.
It was strong, wasn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I'd say it's debatable whether they've done more, potentially more, being critical.
I felt for Mike's best mate Tomori as well. I feel like every time someone mentions Tomori, Mike talks about him like he's going to be England's shining hope for the future. He's credited with an own goal, but I think Trent did really well getting forward for that goal, didn't he? Still kind of saw his defensive incapabilities at times. When Rebic is completely free on that left-hand side, you wonder where your right back is. But he looked good going forward again, didn't he, Trent?
Yeah, he's another player who's had obviously a good start. We've obviously talked about Liverpool's defensive frailties, and we saw it again in this game. A lot of people saying about, the absence of Van Dijk in these sort of games, but he's had a couple of shaky moments this season himself.
He's getting back to it, isn't he?
Yeah. Like I say, he's still obviously readjusting. He's still kind of building up that sort of match fitness. He's that for a long time. I think a lot of people forget.
But I think people will forget that there's changes at AC Milan as well. Like we already mentioned, Donnarumma's gone. Çalhanoğlu's gone across to Inter. Zlatan was out for this game as well, and I think he definitely would have featured. But I think some of these young players coming through at AC Milan really shone as well. I think the fact that Brahim Diaz scored again, although it was a pretty simple goal for him, the intent to follow that ball in and be there was really good. I think Rafael Leao started the game slowly, but again, moving forward looks really strong. I'd be interested to see whether AC Milan can get out of this group or not. It's a tough group, Liverpool's group, isn't it? Obviously, we saw Atletico as well, but who goes through in this group for you? Atletico, Porto, Liverpool, and AC Milan. Who's getting out of that?
I mean, if you looked at it from a buckets perspective, you'd probably say Liverpool and Atletico. But Atletico were poor against Porto and lucky out of that. Porto had a goal that was controversially, disallowed, but
yeah,
nobody really knew what was wrong with it. It was a very strange one. So I think you could say it's quite up in the air with those three teams. I think it's a bit. I don't want to be disrespectful and rule Porto out. We've seen strange things happen, but it's going to be an interesting one. I think Liverpool will go through. They've started strongly, obviously, with that victory, and you wouldn't want to bet against them.
No. I think Liverpool could go deep in the tournament, to be honest, but I'll be really interested to see whether AC Milan can get out of the group. Not much really to say about the other English game. Chelsea winning 1-0 over Zenit St. Petersburg. Romelu Lukaku getting another goal. The only thing I'd mention briefly is that I thought Antonio Rudiger's performance was absolutely fantastic. Capped off by one moment where he just ran the length of the pitch as fast as he could and nearly put it in himself. But Chelsea, I think this isn't the game that will define their Champions League defence, but they got the win, and that's kind of what Lukaku will do for you, right? Go on.
It's obviously Tuchel mentioned it. It's the player that they've been missing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one of those games where it could have ended 0-0 on another day. I think Lukaku kind of decided that moment.
Well, I'll mention it briefly while we're talking about even at the weekend. Obviously, I watched them beat Villa 3-0. Lukaku wasn't necessarily in that game a great deal, but he got 2 goals. He's so clinical, and Tuanzebe just had such a tough time managing him. Now, the other thing was Edouard Mendy was just absolutely superb at the weekend. Villa had a higher XG than Chelsea and lost 3-0. They've got a great spine now, Chelsea, haven't they? They look really, really strong all of a sudden. So I think not the most thrilling game for Chelsea to start the campaign, but they got a win. The other game that's really worth talking about to me is Bayern Munich 3, Barcelona 0. Now, it wasn't quite 8-2. But really, the frailty of Barcelona is there to be seen, isn't it? Are Barcelona even confirmed to get out of this group, do you think? What do you make of Barcelona right now?
They're on the brink, aren't they? They're disastrous, really. The thing is, I think they're too proud a club to accept a transition, and I'd be worried for them, really, in that they're too eager to kind of skip a transition period and, look to do anything hasty and try and rectify their problems, by doing anything. Splurging ridiculous amounts of money that they clearly don't have, but they're trying to get these certain players in still. And, it's a sad state of affairs, really. I think in terms of the club itself, it's a long road back. It's a long road back, because even look at some of these players now and the young players, because they've no doubt got some very talented players. Pedri, De Jong, they've got Ansu Fati as well, who's discussing that renewing a contract. I know he is, and really, like, you look at that and you think about. I think about it as a United fan, because I feel as though, as a player, I'll be looking at it and thinking, well, how long is it before we can compete? Because we're in that much mess that could I be, more sensible to go and approach and move elsewhere, where I can make an impact. I can win some trophies. I can compete. Barcelona can't compete on a European level at the moment.
Well, let's look at that Barcelona starting 11 for this game. And it was Stegen in goal. It was Garcia, Ronald Araujo, and Gerard Piqué at the back. Sergi Roberto, Frenkie de Jong, Sergio Busquets, Pedri, Jordi Alba, Luke de Jong, Memphis Depay. That's a Barcelona starting 11 for the first game of the Champions League against Bayern Munich. Where do you even start with that? In that team, and this is a Barcelona we're talking about, who's world-class right now? You'd say ter Stegen. I think I'm done. I think you've got players like De Jong, who is a good player and will get better. I think Depay has had a fantastic start, considering. And I think Pedri has got a lot of potential. Other than that, it's a lot of players who are past their best, trying to keep them up. or players that just aren't at the level. Luke de Jong is starting Barcelona's Champions League campaign. How is that a thing? Like, I understand Choupo-Moting at Bayern being like the extra player, the substitute. But this is shocking for Barca. And Bayern they were fantastic. They just absolutely blew them away. They had 17 shots. It was the first time Barcelona have ever failed to have a shot on target in the Champions League. It was pathetic, really. And when you look at Bayern's lineup and see that players like Jamal Musiala's coming through, well, they've got the youth that Barcelona have got too, but they've also got the quality now. There's a plan there. Barcelona just don't seem to have a plan right now because they're just so far adrift financially. So I look at this result and 3-0 really flattered Barcelona, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. The only thing is, I thought I wouldn't be surprised by another, player like de Jong starting for Barcelona, like I was when I was surprised when Martin Braithwaite was playing for Barcelona. That was, I didn't think that could be outdone, but now got Luke de Jong in first 11. But yeah, again, it's it just shows where they are, and again, it's a big reality check for their fans, and it's just how long it takes for it to sink in. They're actually very good at it.
Well, 2 goals again for Lewandowski as well, who now has scored in 18 games in a row for Bayern Munich. Are they in the conversation as firm favourites for the tournament this time, do you think?
I think so. The only difference is, I believe this year there are more, there are stronger teams. In my opinion, I think there's a number of teams, and I feel like those 3 English teams are well in the mix. I don't really know about it after watching that, and the manager as well. We've obviously all got our opinions on, and I feel as though it's the English teams can definitely go far. It's going to be interesting once we get towards the stages to see where everybody is, because as we saw last year, All English final, we're going to get that again. But you talk about PSG, not obviously a very poor start to their campaign.
Definitely.
And Bayern, I'd say obviously Bayern and PSG are probably the 2 European teams we'd probably say a stronger bunch out of the English team.
Well, you mentioned PSG there. Obviously, they got a 1-1 draw with Club Brugge. Really not what you expected to see from them. All the talk before the game was how are this Belgian side going to deal with the fact that they've got Mbappe, Neymar and Messi running at them. Well, they dealt with it pretty well. It was Ander Herrera that got PSG's goal. So that was an interesting result. The other result I wanted to talk about quickly was Borussia Dortmund's 2-1 win over Besiktas. Purely because Jude Bellingham, he's brilliant, isn't he? A goal and an assist in this game, along with just a brilliant performance. Erling Haaland also scored his 66th goal in 66 games for Dortmund, which is just Ronaldo and Messi level numbers. It's phenomenal. And he really kind of had a bit of an off night in front of goal. He missed a couple of chances that normally you'd put your house on him scoring. But worth noting, Jude Bellingham, Dave, we've seen him kind of start to break through for England. Obviously, Sancho was left Dortmund. Royce is getting older. We don't know where Haaland's going to be next season. What's Bellingham's status in European football right now, do we think?
I think as a player, I think it'd be wise to stick around for a couple more years. He's still very, I think he's obviously kind of looked at what Sancho's done in the last 2 to 3 years at Dortmund. Seen how he's cemented his place in Europe as one of the best attacking young players in Europe, and I feel as though for sure he's a talented player. He can do everything. He's always one of those players that you're excited to watch because he's always trying to get involved in the game. So they always getting stuck in, brilliant defensively as he is, kind of going box to box and attacking the others, and he can score goals as well. So for sure, he's going to be one of those players. don't want to be disrespectful to Dortmund, but I mean, you can imagine he's probably going to do a similar jump from the Bundesliga, probably back to England at some point, wherever he's up. It's going to be lucky. He's going to be going to a club that are lucky to have him because he's a top talent. And but another thing that interests me is I hear his younger brother, who's playing for Birmingham now, is meant to be very talented as well. I don't actually know about him. I've not seen much of it. But is it Joby Bellingham, I think?
Yeah, tearing it up apparently at all youth levels. So it won't be long before he's kind of the next one being linked with big moves.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if he followed him to Dortmund. He's still very, so you can't really talk about it too soon. But Bellingham's there for a couple of years, then why not? Especially kind of making that adjustment to another country, to a different environment. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely one to watch, isn't he, this season? And hopefully Dortmund can go far in this competition because it'd be interesting to see again how he does. We obviously saw him against Man City last year.
Oh, he was brilliant.
And he performed really well. So it'd be nice to see him against some stronger teams.
Yeah.
We've
Did
all
you see him at the weekend? At the weekend. So at the weekend,
I saw the video where he gets on Haaland's back and
Haaland scores. They run to the crowd to celebrate, and a fan throws the beer. Bellingham, lightning reflexes, catches it, goes to take a sip, not realizing that there is beer in it, and seems absolutely appalled by what has happened. That was fantastic. The other thing worth mentioning from this game was Miralem Pjanic playing for Besiktas. And we just talked about Barcelona lacking real quality. Well, it was his free kick that led to the consolation goal in the end for Besiktas. But what a signing that is for them to bring in him and Batshuayi. They've got a couple of quite good players that could trouble a few teams. But while Barcelona are kind of falling apart, it does interest me to see Griezmann coming on for Atletico, Pjanic playing for Besiktas. It's going to be an interesting tournament. I think everyone just kind of assumed that PSG were favourites and they've already dropped points. Everyone would think that Ronaldo and Man United would be right up there. They've dropped points. Who knows who's going to come through? The team I predicted to win the tournament at the start of the tournament won. However, I really, really do not think they're going to win it now. They're bottling it in Serie A and Ronaldo's left. But Juve got a 3-0 win, worth mentioning. Other than that, the only other one that's worth mentioning is the fact that Sebastian Haller scored 4 goals for Ajax against Sporting, a 5-1 win. So, John, if you're watching, that's what you could have won, mate. But we'll see how West Ham get on in the Europa League tonight.
I think he's one of 2 players who have scored 4 goals in the Champions League. I think the other
one, you've thrown this on me, but was the other one, it was at Shakhtar, wasn't it? What's his flipping name? A Brazilian lad at Shakhtar. I can't remember his name. Say again.
Tyson?
I don't think it was Tyson. I think it was before it. I think his name was Costa. I can't remember. Well, there you go. People can laugh at us not knowing our trivia now. Anyway, I think that's all from us on the Champions League. We look forward to the Europa League and, of course, see how Tottenham get on in the Conference League. Shouldn't laugh because
Napoli, isn't it?
Say that again.
Leicester Napoli tonight, so that'll be
a fantastic game. Definitely, that's a really interesting watch because Napoli have started really bright as well. But that's something to talk about on the Serie A spotlight. But thank you for joining me, even after a very disappointing week as a Man United fan in the Champions League. We'll see how they get back on in the league. But as always, thank you for watching. Our socials are all there. Please like and subscribe on YouTube too. We're on Spotify now. Join the Discord as well. Anything that you can do to support us is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching the Football Diary podcast.
See you later.
Cheers, man.